stream. Saturday, October 4th. Just waiting for some people to join the stream to where we can get started. Anyway, for those of you that are watching this in the archive version, just because you're not on the live stream doesn't mean that you can't leave a comment in the comments section. So feel free to leave a comment with one of your child's, because today's topic is fuck all that political bullshit and let's talk about some childhood memories. But I'm not going to start going through the memories until I start having people join the stream. So in the meantime, I got this crazy idea of making like an hour-long snippet type film or video or whatever. I haven't decided exactly how it's going to go, but I've got some ideas. So Monday I've got 4 job interviews. Ooh, excuse me. I got 4 job interviews coming up on Monday. So hopefully I can land a job. Because child support is on my ass big time. Welcome to the stream. And I didn't catch whatever that symbol was, but whatever it was, thank you for that. As always, I like to invite the audience to say what up and where they're from. That way I can give them a shout out. Wait a minute. Is this the Jax that I think it is? You're saying ha ha ha. Is it really? Is this the Jax from the Wawa that helped me film that one video? Wow, went from 12 to 4. That's fucked up. Well, even if you're not the same Jax, I do appreciate your wish. You don't know. Okay. Well, either way, thank you for the wishes of or hoping for me to get a job. Okay, so there's one interview that is going to be in person. The other ones are on Zoom, which I don't know how y'all feel about Zoom interviews, but I think they're bullshit. My boy, Jax. Good to see you, dude. Or good to see evidence of you, dude. Jax has been down since day one. The last name? Not sure what you mean by the last name, though. Savannah Stevens said hi. What up, Savannah? Alright, I'm gonna have to put the phone down for just one quick second. Oh, wait a minute. Alright, there we... No, I don't want retouch on. Gotta... Now's as good a time as any Is it the last name? Could you reword the question? What is the last name? Now I'm really kind of confused. Cool Kid says hi. What up, Cool Kid? All right, we're back. What is my last name? See if it's me. Honestly, bro, I only remember this particular Jax by the name Jax. So yeah, I'm not sure how I could confirm, other than saying the kid from Town and Country. Cool Kid said, well, first Cool Kid says hi, then says you're cool, then said the coolest guy. Appreciate it. Alright, so while I'm waiting for a few more people to come in, might as well get my mind right. Alright, so again, today's topic is fuck all that political bullshit, and let's talk about some childhood memories. So feel free to post a childhood memory in the chat, post it in the comment section, if that's even available. Depending on how things go, I might open the live stream to take some calls. But for the most part, this live stream is just to, escape all this political bullshit that's happening in our world and get our mind off that shit and just relax and, talk about some happy shit, from our childhood. And while I'm waiting for more people to come in, I don't remember the name brand of this particular vape, but it's the presidential blend. Very smooth, very easy to inhale and hold in, and it'll definitely get your mind right. And it doesn't take that much to get your mind right. Well, it definitely doesn't take me that much, but with this, it shouldn't take anybody that long. Damn it. To those that liked this live stream, thank you. Alright, so it appears, I don't know what's going on, if people are leaving the stream or if there's a connection issue or whatever the case might be. Here in a minute, after I get right, I'm going to start sharing some of my childhood memories. And I'm just about there. Alright, I am going to set the phone down real quick because I got to open this bottle. And I don't have a place to prop the phone up. Well, let me try to prop it on my leg again. Alright. This shit where I gotta reconnect is really pissing me off, but it is what it is. All right, so first childhood memory I'm gonna talk about. When I was a kid, my grandpa bought me all kinds of instruments. But I think I was a little too young to appreciate them. Because I had a French horn that I filled up with water. Totally ruined it. I had many ukuleles that I just didn't take care of, and they would end up getting buried under stuff and get stepped on and broken and all that. But my grandpa bought me a violin once, and I had just got done seeing a Kiss video where they smashed their guitars, and I was sitting there, excuse me, I was sitting there trying to play this violin like I knew what I was doing, and then whenever I stopped, my grandparents and whoever else was there, you know, started clapping their hands like they were cheering me on, and I took a bow, and then I took the violin and I smashed it on the couch, and my grandpa lost his shit. Because he spent a lot of money on that thing, and I only had it for like a couple of weeks at that point. I mean, I had like a jazz style organ. I had several acoustic guitars. He bought me a trumpet that was falling apart all over the place, and we didn't notice it didn't have a mouthpiece with it when we bought it. So I never got to play it because the thing fell apart before I could get a mouthpiece, and it was just like, why even bother? When I was 5 years old, McDonald's used to do birthday parties. And, you know, there would be somebody dressed up as some of the McDonald's characters and shit like that, and they had birthday cake. You can still get birthday cakes at some McDonald's, at least. But that was back when the seats were shaped like, you know, hamburgers and shit like that. And me and this chick that ended up becoming my step niece by marriage, she was a year older than me, but we had the same birthday. And we both celebrated our birthday together a lot when we were kids, but we celebrated it together at McDonald's. And her dad was somehow involved in the wedding of my dad and my mom. Basically, you know, our families were very tight. But it was cool. Except this one time, somebody got her like a Play-Doh set, and I really loved Play-Doh, and I didn't get one. So I was trying to talk her out of hers. Didn't work. And when I was a kid, it was safe to play in the front yard wearing nothing but underwear. Now, I was a fat little kid, so I always had a shirt on, even if it was just a tank top, but was able to play in the front yard in my underwear. And we had 3 dogs that were friendly dogs, but they were protective dogs. And I didn't have to worry about anybody trying to grab me out of the yard and kidnap me, because those dogs would eat them alive. I had so many imaginary adventures in that yard. I used to pretend that I was Link from Legend of Zelda. Used to pretend I was one of the Mario brothers. I was very much into Nintendo games at that age. And when I didn't have any friends or family around my age to play with, I would be out in the front yard doing my imaginary stuff. I even pretended I was Mario or Jumpman in the original Donkey Kong video game. I was also a little bit stupid. My grandpa had built a little basketball hoop for me, made the backboard out of wood, and there was a lot of nails involved, nailing it to a tree. Well, I tried to slam dunk it. It ended up pulling the board out of the tree. So there's all these nails sticking out of this board. And the board had been sitting next to the front door for a while. And I used to watch a lot of cartoons, and I saw a cartoon character walk across some nails because he had shoes on. I got the bright idea to put a pair of shoes on, run out the front door, and take a running jump and landing on the nails. Well, I landed on the nails. The shoes, were good to go on the tops of the nails. And I had about enough time to say, wow, it really would. And both feet sank, nails went in, I fell back, and started screaming. Those nails went about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch into my feet. And they were rusty too. So thank God I didn't get tetanus. We used to have an ice cream truck that would go through the neighborhood, and it would end up passing right in front of my house. And I would always get a screwball because it had a gumball down at the bottom. It was like a cone, Italian icy thing with a gumball at the bottom. I'd get a screwball and a cream soda. And if they were out of screwballs, I'd get an ice cream sandwich. But my ice cream always came with the cream soda. And we, bought so much ice cream and cream soda off the ice cream man that occasionally he would just give me free ice cream and free soda, and he'd stand there talking to my grandpa. Back when I was a kid, there was a guy that would drive around the neighborhoods with a horse, and he would show up, and for a price, as a kid, you could sit on the horse and you could sit on the horse and get a picture. There was also this guy that was a one-man band. If you don't know what a one-man band is, look it up. It's pretty cool. But he would come through the neighborhood ever so often on this motorized cart with all his equipment, you know, harmonica, guitar, bass drum, snare drum. I mean, you know, he was like, he had a lot of pieces of equipment. He was a true one-man band. But it was cool as shit. And next door to us, we had a neighbor, but on the other side of that neighbor was a canal. And I would get in trouble for, you know, being out in the street, but I would sneak over. I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. I would sneak over to the bridge over the canal and look down in it and watch stuff float by or look at the fish and all that. I actually miss doing that. Our neighborhood was a melting pot. It was very multicultural. So I grew up around families of all races, ethnicities, all that shit. And they all had kids my age. And we would all take turns going over to somebody's house. And then there was times where different households would go over to different households and they would bring over, you know, food and shit like that. So I was exposed to a lot of different types of food as a kid. And at one point I became a picky eater, so that kind of went down the toilet as far as I was concerned. But when I was younger, I used to eat whatever was on my plate, and, you know, got exposure to all these different types of foods. And I guess that's why my style of food options is so wide, even though my food items are limited. Karate was a big thing back then, when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. And I went to church as a kid, and after church was over, they would serve food there, so we would always stick around a little longer after. So me and my friends would go outside and we would play, but we would play like karate stuff. And one time, this kid was supposed to do a roundhouse kick that I was going to catch, and instead he does a roundhouse punch. Caught me right in the eye. His name was Jay. That's all I remember. I mean, we were friends, but he was a little bit of a little badass kid. But it is what it is. Used to live around the corner from the airport, and my mom and dad would drive over to the bowling alley because there was this big open field that faced the airport, and we would they would set me up on the hood and we would stand out there and watch airplanes fly over. And then my mom and dad would sit in the car doing what grown-ups do while I was laying on the hood in the windshield looking at the planes. Hi, Mom. No, I'm just kidding. They wouldn't do that. It was inappropriate, and it was in broad daylight, so no. The skating rink was the place to be. Never learned how to skate, but they had video games. Went to Lowry Park Zoo many times, whether it was with family, on a school trip, whatever the case might have been. Would see all the animals and all that shit. It was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not used to my lives being this dead. I usually keep at least 3 or 4 people in here. But who knows? There could be legit reasons for why there's no one in here, or why it's not showing anyone or whatever. Okay. Nintendo released a package back then that had Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and a game called World Class Track Meet, which came with this pad that you laid on the ground, and you would run on it, and you would run and jump for the high hurdles and shit like that. I let this one kid borrow my 3-game cartridge and the pad and the gun, and he let me borrow Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was a much funner game, but that one game versus what was spent on my power pad, my gun, and my 3-game cartridge, it was nowhere close. So it was a bad trade for money, good trade for coolness. My grandpa used to take me to the beach at sunset. That was pretty cool. I would build sand castles, and I would try to find quicksand, but I never did. My parents would take me to the movies and stuff. We would go fly kites. Wonder whatever happened to flying kites. Well, I don't see anybody flying kites anymore. Make kites normal again. And speaking of video games, if you ever play Contra on the regular Nintendo, not the Super Nintendo, the one before that, up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, select, start. If you want to play 2-player game, gets each of you 30 men. If you play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, 007-373-5963, takes you straight to Mike Tyson. If you play Kid Icarus, it's either the number 8 and the rest of everything is little U's, or it's one little U and the rest are 8s, or it's a bunch of U's, like the little U's, and then one 8, or a bunch of 8s and one little U. Can't remember exactly, because I didn't play Kid Icarus that much. Predator was a good game, based on the original Predator movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. When I was 8 years old, my dad took me to the mall to get my ear pierced, because that was the cool thing to do back then. We used to go to the biker shop at the flea market, and I'd get all these different Harley Davidson shirts and biker fighting rings and all kinds of cool stuff. Let's see what else. Went to Chuck E. Cheese a lot as a kid. Played video games. The Museum of Science and Industry, which is still around. Went there a lot for field trips. Loved it. Especially the dinosaur exhibit. Damn it, I done forgot about this other place that I would go to because I was too busy thinking about Chuck E. Cheese. No, Museum of Science and Industry. Oh, yeah. So, when the Challenger had blown up, they showed us the footage. I don't remember if we were watching it live or if it was a videotape or whatever the case might be, but they showed us the footage of the Challenger blowing up. And then they took us to John F. Kennedy Space Center on a field trip. I used to have crushes on my teachers. When I was in kindergarten, I had a crush on my first grade teacher. When I was in first grade, I had a crush on my second grade teacher. When I was in third grade, I didn't have a crush on any of my teachers. At that point, I started looking at the girls in my class. And then fourth grade, I was put into... I was in private school, kindergarten through third grade. And then whenever I went to fourth grade, it was public school for the first time. And man, did I... Someone should have prepared me better, because it was definitely a culture shock. You go from a private school to a public school, the kids act totally different. The lunches are totally different. Ever since I can remember, growing up in the 80s, having teenage parents, instead of listening to little kid songs and stuff, I was listening to like 80s hard rock with my dad and 80s glam rock with my mom. My uncle listened to a lot of psychedelic music. So I got exposure to music at a very young age, and it entranced me to where I wanted to be a musician. Used to play baseball with friends at church, friends at school. My mom's side of the family, we had quite a few kids around the same age, but the grown-ups would help us play sports. I remember one time was watching a videotape of a Guns N' Roses concert, and Axl Rose had this big chest piece that was all gold. He jumped out into the crowd and somebody stole his gold. Or he just leaned over the crowd enough to where someone could grab a hold of it. I can't remember exactly, but it was crazy to see. Me and my cousins would wake up in the middle of the night, sneak into the kitchen and get cereal. Would be watching the scrambled channels on TV. If you don't know what scrambled channels are, look it up. Used to do talent shows a lot. In school, I mean. And those were fun times too. And then Saturday mornings watching cartoons. In the evenings watching cartoons. Like Pac-Man had a cartoon. There was a cartoon about a vampire duck named Count Duckula. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the afternoon. Batman, both live action and cartoon TV shows. Hell, they even had cartoons for music groups. They had a cartoon for MC Hammer involving James Brown on the same show. This boy band from back then named the New Kids on the Block had a cartoon show. Kid and Play had a cartoon show. And then there was the Chipmunks and all that shit too. Silly String was always fun as a kid. I used to I'd get 2 cans and I'd spray my grandma down and she would laugh and laugh and laugh and, you know, it was fun. To this day, I still don't know how to swim, but my mom would take me to the pool whenever I was real little, and she'd put floaties on me and stuff like that to where I could be in the pool. We used to go fishing a lot when I was a kid. That was always fun. Playing kickball in the front yard, football out in the street. When I was like 9, 10, 11 or 12, somewhere in there, there was woods across the street from where my mom lived. And me and my cousins around my age and the older cousins and some of the younger uncles, we would go over to the woods and play manhunt at night. That was always fun. Going to 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee after school. That was always a good time. Fireworks for the 4th of July and New Year's. We would drive out to the beach area and watch all the fireworks in the sky. I'm telling you, man, Tampa's where it's at. when my dad would go to drop me off at school in the mornings, we would be listening to like Alice Cooper or something. And that was good times. Well, there's more memories that I have, but they're not that cool to talk about. And there's other shit that happened that would be cool to talk about that I just don't remember. But that's fine. And with the fact that there's hardly been anybody in here, like occasionally they'll show one on the counter. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it short. I was gonna go an hour, but nah. Remember, if you watch the archived version, feel free to make a comment. And like I've said before, I'm going to try to make live streams a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday thing. And have Monday, Wednesday, Friday be a pre-recorded thing. So, yeah, just keep an eye out for it. Uncle JD signing out. For now, Uncle JD signing out. As always, everybody stay safe.